If love is supposed to protect, then why is it slowly destroying our bodies? If care is supposed to heal, then why are Indians getting sick younger than any generation before? And if tradition is supposed to guide us, then why is the country that worshipped discipline, balance, and self control now becoming the diabetes capital of the world? Let me say something uncomfortable. Most Indians are not overweight because they are lazy. They are overweight because they were loved the wrong way. In India, food is not food. Food is emotion. Food is safety. Food is reward. Food is proof of love. A mother doesn't say, I love you. She says, Orle. You come back from school tired. Eat. You are sad? Eat. You score marks? Eat. You don't score marks? Eat. Someone visits house? Eat. There's a festival? Eat. There's no festival? Still eat. From childhood, your brain is trained to believe one thing. Eating more means you're cared for. And that belief quietly sits inside you for years until one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize your own body. In India, a chubby child is celebrated. अरे देखो कितना healthy है. गाल देखो full गोल मटोल. But no one asks a dangerous question. Healthy according to whom? Because that same healthy child grows up into a teenager with zero stamina, a young adult with belly fat and low confidence, a 30-year-old with sugar, BP, thyroid, or fatty liver, and then we act surprised. Here's the harsh truth. Most Indian mothers never learned nutrition. They were never taught calories. They were never taught protein. They were never taught what sugar does to hormones. They only learned one thing. Hunger is dangerous because many of them came from scarcity, from families where food was uncertain. So they overfeed, not out of knowledge, but out of fear. And fear based love always overdoes. So the child is not just fed food, the child is fed habits. The child is fed emotional eating. The child is fed confusion between hunger and comfort. By the time that child becomes an adult, their body is already programmed. They don't eat when they are hungry. They eat when they feel something. Stress, eat. Lonely, eat. Bored, eat. Tired, eat. This is not a willpower problem. This is conditioning problem. And now, let me break the biggest myth of all. Indian food is not automatically healthy. Just because something is Ghar ka khana does not mean it respects your biology. Just because it is traditional does not mean it suits a modern, inactive, sitting lifestyle. Our grandparents ate heavy food, but they also walked, squatted, lifted, fasted, and slept naturally. You eat the same food, but you sit all day, scroll all night, and move your body for 10 minutes. Same food, completely different body demand. That mismatch is why Indians gain fat faster than most races. And we haven't even started talking about what fat actually is, why calories matter, how insulin controls your body, why protein is missing from Indian diets, why sugar is silently destroying hormones, and why weight loss has nothing to do with starving. That is coming. But before we go there, I want you to understand one thing deeply. You are not broken. Your body is not lazy. You were simply never taught how it works. And once you understand that, fat loss stops becoming a struggle and starts becoming a system. Why? Indians gain fat faster than anyone else. Before we blame food, before we blame sugar, before we blame laziness, we need to talk about something deeper, your body. Because here's a truth most Indians don't want to hear. Indians are biologically more prone to fat gain. Not because we are weak, but because of history. For thousands of years, this land went through famine, food uncertainty, seasonal eating, fasting for long periods. So the Indian body evolved to do one thing extremely well, that is, store energy. If food is available, store it. If sugar appears, absorb it faster. If calories come in, don't waste them. This survival advantage saved lives centuries ago. But today, it is killing us because the same body that was designed for scarcity is now trapped in abundance. 3 meals, snacks in between, sugar every day, zero movement. Your body still thinks famine is coming, so it stores fat like its life depends on it. And now, let me introduce you to the real villain. Not fat, not carbs. Insulin is not evil. It is a storage hormone. Whenever you eat food, especially carbohydrates and sugar, insulin rises. Its job is simple. Take glucose from the blood and push it into cells. But here's the catch. When insulin is high, fat burning is off, completely off. And Indians are genetically more insulin sensitive, which means insulin rises faster and stays elevated longer. When you eat roti in the morning, rice in the afternoon, snacks in the evening, and roti again at night, your insulin never comes down. Your body never gets a chance to burn fat. You are not gaining fat because you eat too much at once. You are gaining fat because your body is never allowed to access stored energy. And now, let's talk about the most dangerous Indian habit, eating without hunger. Most Indians eat by the clock, not by biology. 8 o'clock, breakfast. 1 o'clock, lunch. 8 o'clock again, dinner. Even if the body doesn't need food, even if yesterday's calories are still stored, this constant feeding keeps insulin elevated all day. And slowly, silently, the cells start resisting insulin. This is called insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is the root of belly fat, PCOS, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, hormonal imbalance. This is why an Indian can eat less than a foreigner and still gain more fat. Because it's not about quantity alone, it's about hormonal response. Now, let me shatter another illusion. Exercise alone will not fix this. You cannot outtrain insulin resistance. 1 hour at the gym cannot undo 16 hours of hormonal damage, especially if your diet is protein poor and carb heavy. And that brings us to the biggest nutritional disaster in Indian diets, protein deficiency. Most Indians are not overweight. They are underproteined and overcarbed. Protein is not just for muscles. Protein controls satiety, metabolism, hormones, muscle retention, fat loss. When protein is low, you feel hungry again quickly. You snack more. You crave sugar. You lose muscle and fat percentage rises even if the weight stays same. This is why two people at the same weight can look completely different. One has muscle, other has fat. Same weight, different bodies. And Indian diets rarely provide enough protein, especially vegetarian ones, without planning. So the body adapts. It slows metabolism. It stores fat. It burns muscle. And slowly you feel tired, foggy, unmotivated. You blame age. You blame stress. You blame genetics. But the truth is simpler. Your body is responding perfectly to the signals you are giving it. Now, what fat really is and why most Indians completely misunderstand it. Before we talk about losing fat, you must understand what fat actually is. Because right now, Most people hate fat without knowing what they are fighting. Fat is not your enemy. Fat is stored energy. That's it. It's not toxic. It's not evil. It's not a mistake. Your body stores fat because it is intelligent. Fat exists to protect you, fuel you, and keep you alive during scarcity. The problem is not that your body stores fat. The problem is that your body never told to use it. Let me explain this very clearly. Your body has two fuel systems. One is incoming fuel, the food you eat. The other is stored fuel, body fat. Your body can only use one at a time. When food is constantly coming in, your body has no reason to touch stored fat. So fat just sits there, growing, expanding, waiting. This is why people who eat all day never lose fat, even if portions are small. Now, here's the mistake Indians make. They think fat gain happens because I ate too much yesterday. No, fat gain happens because your body is never allowed to enter a fat burning stage. That state only happens when insulin is low and energy demand is present. But Indian eating patterns, they kill both. We eat early, we eat late, we snack in between, we drink sugar, we eat refined carbs with almost no protein. Insulin stays high, fat burning stays off. Let me say you something controversial. Eating less does not automatically mean losing fat. Starving yourself is not fat loss. Starvings make the body panic. When the body panics, it does three things. It slows metabolism, it holds on to fat, and it burns muscle. This is why people who diet feel cold, feel weak, feel irritated, and still don't look lean. Because weight loss and fat loss are not the same thing. You can lose weight and still be fat. This is extremely common in India. Thin arms, thin legs, big belly. This is called skinny fat. And it happens when protein is low, calories are poorly distributed, and fat loss is attempted without understanding biology. Now let's talk about calories without nonsense. Calories are not magic. They are not lies. They are units of energy, just like money. And here's what most people don't understand. Two people can eat the same calories and get completely different results because hormones decide where these calories go. Insulin decides whether calories are burned or stored. Protein decides whether weight lost is fat or muscle. Fiber decides how fast food enters the blood. Micronutrients decide whether metabolism runs smoothly or struggles. Calories matter, but context matters more. And Indian diets usually have the worst context possible. High carbs, low protein, low fiber, low micronutrients, high frequency. This combination guarantees fat storage. And now, let me talk about something emotional again. Most Indians are scared of hunger. They think hunger is dangerous, but hunger is not an emergency. Hunger is a signal, and learning to sit with mild hunger is the beginning of fat loss. Not extreme hunger, not starvation, just enough space for insulin to drop and fat burning to begin. Your body already knows how to burn fat. You just never gave it permission. Now that you understand insulin, it's time to talk about nutrition properly. Not Instagram nutrition, not gym bro advice, not one magic food nonsense. Real nutrition. Because most Indians don't eat food, they eat combinations they inherited without questioning. And those combinations no longer match modern bodies. They start with the foundation. Every food you make is made of macronutrients. There are three of them: protein, carbohydrates, fats. Nothing else gives calories. Protein builds and repairs. Carbs give quick energy. Fats give stored, slow energy. Simple. But Indian diets flip this order completely. Protein, the most important nutrient for fat loss, is the least consumed. Carbohydrates with spike insulin are the most consumed. And fats are either overused in cooking or completely demonized. This imbalance is the root problem. Let me explain protein first, because this is where most Indians suffer the most. Protein is not just for bodybuilders. Protein controls hunger. When protein is low, your body keeps asking for food. You eat roti, you eat rice, you eat snacks. But hunger doesn't go away. Why? Because the body is still searching for amino acids. Protein is also what preserves muscle, and muscle is what keeps metabolism high. When protein is low, you lose muscle. Metabolism slows, fat percentage rises. This is why many Indians say, I eat very little, still I gain weight, because their body composition is worsening. Now, let's talk about carbohydrates are not evil, but uncontrolled carbs are deadly for insulin sensitive bodies. Indian meals are usually carb plus carb, roti with potato, rice with dal but very little dal, idli with chutney, poha with peanuts removed, snacks made of refined flour. Carbs without protein are insulin bombs. They rise blood sugar fast, insulin spikes, fat storage turns on, and because protein is missing, hunger returns quickly. So you snack again. Now, fats were never the enemy, but mixing high fat plus high carb is the fastest way to gain fat. In- Indian cooking does this perfectly. Refined oil, deep frying, carb soaked in fat. The body stores this combination extremely efficiently. Now let's talk about something most people completely ignore. Micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, electrolytes. These don't give calories, but they decide how well your metabolism works. Indian diets today are calorie rich, but nutrient poor. So even if the calories are enough, the body behaves as if it is deficient. This causes low energy, poor thyroid function, cravings, water retention. And what do people do? They eat more. But the problem was never quantity, it was quality. Now, here's the most important truth: weight loss is not about eating less food, it is about eating more of the right food, the right nutrients, and less of the wrong combination. When protein goes up, hunger comes down. When carbs are controlled, insulin improves. When micronutrients are sufficient, metabolism stabilizes. Fat loss becomes automatic. No suffering, no obsession. How fat loss actually happens? Listen carefully. Fat loss is not a punishment. It's not a suffering. It is not starvation. Fat loss is simply the body accessing stored energy. That's it. And your body already knows how to do it. You just keep blocking it. Fat loss happens when three things align. Insulin is low enough. Protein intake is sufficient. Energy demand exists. Miss even one and fat loss stops. This is why most people fail. They focus on one thing and ignore the rest. Some people cut calories aggressively. They eat tiny portions. They skip meals. They feel miserable. The body panics. Metabolism slows. Muscle breaks down. Fat is protected. Weight drops, but fat stays. Other people exercise hard. They sweat. They burn calories, but they go back and eat the same carb heavy meals. Insulin remains high. Fat burning never stops. Exercise becomes compensation, not correction. And then there are people who eat clean constantly, healthy snacks, frequent meals, no junk. But insulin never drops, so fat never moves. Now, let me explain how fat loss should feel. Real fat loss feels calm, no extreme hunger, no dizziness, no obsession with food. Because when protein is adequate and meals are structured properly, the body feels safe. Safety is critical. Your body will not release fat if it thinks survival is threatened. That's why crash diets fail. Now, let me give you the real sequence. First, you reduce eating frequency, not nutrition. You allow insulin to come down between meals. Second, you raise protein sends a powerful signal we are not starving. Third, you move your body, not to punish it, but to create energy demand. Walking, resistance training, daily activity. Movement tells the body use stored fat. Now, here's where most Indians make a huge mistake. They try to lose fat while keeping the same lifestyle, same sleep, same stress, same sitting. Fat loss does not happen in a stressed body. High cortisol blocks fat burning, especially around the belly. So, sleep, sunlight, and nervous system calm matters more than people realize. Now, let me say something important. Fat loss is not fast, but it is predictable. When biology is respected, results are inevitable. No motivation needed, no willpower, just alignment. Calories, macro. Now we go into the part most people avoid because numbers scare people, calories scare people, and ignorance feels more uncomfortable than accountability. But if you don't understand calories, you will depend on opinions forever. So let me make this very clear. Calories are real. They are not Western conspiracy. They are not gym propaganda. They are not optional. A calorie is simply a unit of energy, just like a rupee is a unit of money. You may hate money math, but you cannot escape it. Same with calories. Now listen carefully. There are only three macronutrients that give calories: protein, carbohydrates, fat. Each has a fixed energy value. Every single gram of protein gives 4 calories. Carbohydrate gives 4 calories. Fat gives 9 calories. Not approximately, not sometimes, always. This alone explains 50% of fat gain in India because Indian food is fat plus carb heavy. Let me show you what people don't realize. 1 tablespoon of oil, just one, that's about 120 calories. That is equal to 3 rotis or a full bowl of rice or a large portion of dal. And Indian cooking doesn't use 1 tablespoon. Oil is poured emotionally. So people say, I eat very less. But calories don't care about feelings. They care about quantity. Now let's talk about protein. Because this is where diet planning actually starts. Protein is the only macronutrient with a clear daily requirement. Carbs and fats are flexible. Protein is not. Your body needs protein to maintain muscle, repair tissues, make enzymes, make hormones. If protein is insufficient, fat loss becomes nearly impossible. Now, here's the number most Indians never heard. A healthy adult needs roughly 1.6 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight for fat loss and metabolic health. If your weight is 70 kg, you need around 110 to 140 grams of protein per day. Most Indians eat only 30 to 50 grams per day, less than half. And then they wonder why they are always hungry, always tired, or always gaining fat. Now let's talk about carbohydrates. Carbs are not evil, but carbs are context dependent. Carbs should be adjusted based on activity level, insulin sensitivity, body fat percentage. A sedentary Indian eating 250 to 300 grams of carbs daily will store fat, guaranteed, because unused glucose has only one destination: fat. Now, let's talk about fats are calorie dense. 9 calories per gram. That means fats must be controlled, not eliminated. Traditional diets add fat, but physical output was massive. Today, output is minimal, so fats intake must match our lifestyle. So let's bring together into a diet planning. Finally, let's talk about that. Diet planning is not about foods. It is about numbers first, foods second. First step, decide calories. Fat loss requires calorie deficit, not starvation. A mild deficit, usually 300 to 500 calories below maintenance, not more. So maintenance is basically how much calories your body need to just survive, to stay alive. You can check that through BMI. You have in Google many places where you can just search your basal metabolic rate, BMR basically. So you need to consume little less than. And next, second step is consume sufficient protein so that you can retain your muscles. Step 3, distribute remaining calories between carbs and fats based on preference and lifestyle. That's it. That's the system. Not complicated. First, just find out what is your metabolic rate. You need to go 300 calories less than that, and you should get sufficient calories from eating protein. I told you how much grams is needed. And next, based on that, you are supposed to decide the calories that is needed. That's it. That's the system. Not complicated. Now, let me translate this into Indian reality. If an average Indian adult needs around 2000 to 2200 calories for maintenance, that is what we generally see. Fat loss calories should be around 1500 to 1800. If 2000 calories are needed for maintenance, then you should consume only 1500 calories. Now, out of those calories, protein should contribute 25 to 30%. That is non-negotiable. Then carb and fats can be adjusted. Now, here's where micronutrients enter. Micronutrients do not give calories, but they decide whether your body can use calories properly. Iron, vitamin B12, magnesium, potassium, iodine, and zinc. Deficiency slow metabolism, increase fatigue, increase cravings. That is why dieting fails. People cut calories without fixing deficiency. The body resists. Now, let me say this very clearly. You cannot guess nutrition. You must measure at least initially, because what you don't measure, you emotionally underestimate. And Indians are masters of underestimation. One roti becomes 3. One spoon oil becomes 4. One sweet becomes just today. Fat loss fails silently. Now let me end this section with most important truth. Diet planning is not restriction. It is respect for biology, respect for math, respect for long-term health. Once you understand calories, macros, and protein, you are no longer confused. You are in control. And that is what freedom actually feels like. Now, how to eat food without becoming overweight? Now comes the most important question. If all this is true, does that mean Indian food is bad? No, but it does mean Indian foods need structure. Our ancestors didn't eat randomly. They didn't snack all day. They didn't combine everything in one plate. We copied the food, but forgot the system. Let's fix that. First, understand this. Indian food is carb dominant by default. Roti, rice, idli, dosa, poha, upma. So if you don't consciously add protein, your meal will always be unbalanced. That's why most Indian meals satisfy the tongue but not the body. Now here's the rule. Every main meal must start with protein, not end with it. Not a spoon of protein. Start with protein. Because protein slows digestion, reduces insulin spike, and controls appetite. Dal is good, but usually not enough. Paneer, curd, tofu, soy, lentils, legumes, nuts, they need to be intentional, not decorative. Now, carbs are not banned, but they must be earned, not automatic. If your life is sedentary, your carb tolerance is low. That's biology. So portion control matters, not with fear, with intelligence. One roti eaten mindfully is different from 3 eaten unconsciously. Now, fats. Traditional fats were seasonal and limited. Today, fats are refined, repeated, overheated. Oil is energy dense. A small excess daily becomes fat over months. So fat is not removed, it is measured. Now, the most important thing that I should talk about is sugar. This needs to be said clearly. Daily sugar consumption is incompatible with fat loss. Festivals are fine, occasional sweets are fine, but daily sugar destroys insulin sensitivity. There is no workaround. Let me address this eating frequency. Indian culture encourages this is a disaster for insulin. These three structured meals with enough protein are better than six small ones. And mild hunger in between the meals is not dangerous, it is therapeutic. Now, let me say something emotional again. You do not need to fight your family. You don't need to reject culture. You need to upgrade awareness. Eat the same food, but change the order, portion, frequency, and balance, and your body will respond. The Indian fat loss blueprint. Let me end this video with clarity. Fat loss is not about fighting your body, it's about working with it. Your body is not your enemy, it has been protecting you this whole time. It stored fat because it was told food is unpredictable, movement is unnecessary, stress is constant. So it adapted. Now you give it new signals. You eat with structure, you prioritize protein, you reduce mindless eating, you move daily, you sleep properly, and slowly your body lets go. Not violently, not desperately, calm. Because safety has returned. Now I want to talk about something deeper than fat, love. In India, love has always been expressed through food. That doesn't need to change. But love must evolve. Real love today is teaching children hunger awareness, not forcing extra bites, not rewarding emotions with sugar, not equating chubbiness with health. Is saying, I want you strong at 40, not just full at 10. Real love is choosing discipline over indulgence, long term health over short term pleasure. And this is not just for parents, this is for you. Every time you eat unconsciously, you are repeating old programming. Every time you pause and choose better, you are breaking generational pattern. You don't need perfection. You need consistency. You don't need motivation. You need understanding. Once you understand your body, fat loss becomes boring, predictable, inevitable. And that is the greatest freedom. If this video made you uncomfortable, that means something inside you woke up. If it made you think, share it with someone you love. Because sometimes the most loving thing you can do is tell the truth. My body is not broken. I was never taught how to listen to it. Thank you.